The lights went out and Amora started laughing. Not nervously. Not the small embarrassed laugh of someone managing an awkward moment. She laughed the way she laughed at everything, fully, from the center of her chest, completely unself-conscious, as if the darkness that had just swallowed the entire hotel suite and the wedding night and the expensive candles that someone had arranged on the dining table was simply the funniest thing that had happened today. Which, given the day, was saying something. Emeka stood in the darkness and listened to his wife laugh and felt something he had not expected to feel on his wedding night. Relief. Not because the lights had gone out, he would deal with the generator situation in approximately 4 minutes when he found his phone. But because of the laugh. Because of what the laugh told him about the woman he had married 9 hours ago in front of 400 people, half of whom had opinions about the marriage that they had not kept entirely to themselves. He found his phone. He turned on the flashlight. He pointed it at his wife. She was sitting on the edge of the enormous hotel bed in her wedding dress, the dress his mother had chosen, which was beautiful and uncomfortable and which Amora had worn for 12 hours with the good-natured endurance of someone who understands that some things are worn for other people, and she was laughing at the dark room. Nipa has delivered their wedding gift, she said. PHCN, he said automatically. Nipa, she said again, with the firmness of someone who did not recognize the rebranding. They have been Nipa in my village since 1972 and they remain Nipa. He looked at her in the phone flashlight. He sat on the bed beside her. Are you happy? He said. She stopped laughing. She looked at him. Yes, she said. Simply. Without the performance that the question sometimes invited. Just yes. Stated as a fact. Even though everything, she said. Yes. If you have ever married someone the world did not approve of and been proven right in the best possible way, drop a comment below. And if you are new here, subscribe right now, because this story is only beginning and what happens next will show you exactly what kind of woman Amora is. The world that did not approve was primarily represented by Emeka's mother. Mrs. Adizobi was 61 years old and had been planning her son's marriage since approximately the year he turned 20, which meant she had been planning it for 7 years before Emeka met Amora and had a great deal of planning invested in an outcome that Amora did not represent. The outcome she had planned involved a specific category of woman. Educated. From a family with connections. With the particular polish of a Lagos or Abuja upbringing, the right schools, the right social circles, the right understanding of how the Obi family's world operated and what was expected of a woman who entered it. Amora was from Ik. Ik was a village in Enugu state that most people in Lagos had not heard of and could not locate on a map without assistance. Her father farmed yam. Her mother sold palm oil at the market. She had gone to secondary school in the nearest town and then to the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, on a scholarship that she had earned with the highest JAMB score her secondary school had produced in 11 years. She had studied computer science. She had graduated with a first class. She had been working for 3 years at a technology company in Lagos when Emeka's friend Tabena had brought her to a group dinner and she and Emeka had talked for 4 hours while the rest of the table moved around them like water around 2 rocks that had decided to stay in place. He had called her the next day. She had asked why it took him until the next day. He had said he needed to think about what to say. She had said that was the correct answer. Most people did not think before calling and it showed. They had talked for 2 hours on that call and then they had met for lunch and then for dinner and then for a walk that lasted 3 hours and covered significant Lagos geography and then, over the following 4 months, Emeka had understood with the specific certainty of someone who does not reach certainty easily that this was the person. The specific certainty had arrived on the evening Amora told him about her scholarship. Not because the scholarship was impressive, though it was. Because of how she told him. Without performance. Without the strategic deployment of an achievement for the purpose of impression management. Just, I needed to get there and there was one way to get there and I got there. The way a person describes crossing a road, not because it was easy but because it was necessary, and the necessity made the method clear. He had looked at her across the restaurant table and thought, this is the most direct person I have ever met. He had also thought, my mother is going to be difficult about this. He had been correct on both counts. Mrs. Adesobi received the news of Amora with the specific composure of a woman who has learned to manage her reactions because her reactions are observed by people who will discuss them. She did not say no immediately. She said, tell me about her family. Emeka told her. She was quiet for a moment. Yam farming, she said. Yes, Mama. And palm oil. Her mother sells palm oil, yes. In a market. Yes, Mama. Another quiet. Emeka. She said his name the way she said it when a conversation was about to become a lecture. I am not a snob. You know I am not a snob. I know, Mama. I grew up with nothing. You know this. My father was a carpenter. I have never forgotten where I came from. I know, Mama. But there is a difference between where you come from and where you are going. She paused. The woman you marry shapes where you are going. Her family becomes your family. Her background becomes your children's background. This is not about money or status. This is about, she searched for the word. Compatibility. I am compatible with Amora, Emeka said. You have known her for 4 months. I have known some people for 30 years and been incompatible with all of them. His mother looked at him. Bring her, she said finally. Let me meet her. The meeting happened on a Saturday. Amora arrived at the Obi house in Lekki in the Uber she had taken from the mainland, where she lived, and she came alone, no aunt, no friend for moral support, no preparation of any kind beyond the same direct attention she brought to every situation. She wore a neat but simple dress. She had not bought something new for the occasion, which Mrs. Obi clocked immediately with the specific radar of a woman who notes these things. She greeted Mrs. Obi with the full kneeling respect of a girl who had been raised to greet elders properly, which Mrs. Obi also clocked, but which she filed in a different category. They sat in the large Lekki parlor and Mrs. Obi asked questions. About her family. About her education. About her work. About her plans. Amora answered each question fully and without decoration, no embellishment, no strategic omissions, no performance of humility or performance of confidence. Just the direct answers of someone who did not see the questions as a test and did not know she was supposed to. At the end of 30 minutes, Mrs. Obi said, what do you want for your life? Not what do you plan. What do you want? Amora thought about it. I want to build something, she said. I want to build something that is mine and that does something useful in the world. I want to do that alongside someone who is building in the same direction. She paused. And I want to go back to my village every Harmattan and eat my mother's off aku and sit in the compound in the evening and not feel like I have become someone who forgot where they came from. She looked at Mrs. Obi. That is what I want. Mrs. Obi looked at her. She said nothing for a moment. Then she said, the off aku. Your mother makes it with uziza or utozi. Amara blinked. Uziza. Both actually, but more uziza. Good, Mrs. Obi said. The utozi people are wrong. Something shifted in the room. Not acceptance. Not yet. But the beginning of the thing that precedes acceptance, the recognition of a specific shared truth, however small, in a conversation that had been looking for one. Mrs. Obi did not make it easy. This is the honest account, and the honest account requires saying that she did not simply meet Amora and revise her position. She aired her concerns to Emeka's aunts, who aired them to various interested parties. She made comments at family gatherings that were not directed at anyone in particular but arrived at their target precisely. She described Amora to people as a village girl, which was accurate but delivered with an inflection that was a judgment dressed as a fact. Emeka heard all of it. He said one thing to his mother and then did not say it again. He said, "Mama, I have made my decision. You can make it difficult or you can make it easy. I love you either way. But I am marrying Amora." His mother had looked at him for a long moment. She had seen something in his face that she recognized, the specific certainty that was the same certainty she had had at 32 when she had decided to go back to school for her master's degree, and everyone in the family had said it was unnecessary and she had done it anyway and it had been the best decision of her life. She had seen her own certainty in her son's face. She had said nothing else about it. She had instead begun, over the following months, to plan a wedding that was appropriate for the son of Mrs. Adi's Obi, which meant 400 guests and a reception at a hotel that had hosted the weddings of 3 senators and the naming ceremonies of 2 governors' grandchildren. Amora's mother had come from Ik for the wedding planning meetings. Mrs. Ejike was a small woman with large opinions and the specific dignity of someone who had raised a child on limited resources and watched the child exceed every limitation. She had sat across from Mrs. Adi's Obi in the Lekki parlor and they had discussed wedding arrangements with the careful negotiation of 2 women who were not yet allies but were not enemies either and who understood that the occasion required them to produce something together. At the end of the second planning meeting, Mrs. Ejike had looked at Mrs. Obi and said, "My daughter is not what you imagined for your son." Mrs. Obi had looked at her. "No," she had said. "She is better," Mrs. Ejike had said simply. Not with aggression. As a fact. Mrs. Obi had looked at this small woman from Ik and felt, unexpectedly, the first genuine amusement she had felt in this entire process. "We will see," she had said. "We will," Mrs. Ejike had agreed. The wedding was on a Saturday in November and it was, by the measurement of the 400 people who attended, magnificent. The church ceremony was at 10. The reception was at 2. The food was the kind of food that receives its own conversation. The music was the kind of music that moves people who have decided they are not going to dance. Amora wore the dress Mrs. Obi had chosen. She wore it with the same good-natured endurance with which she wore everything that was not her natural choice, fully, without complaint, present inside the costume while remaining entirely herself underneath it. Emeka watched her move through the reception, receiving guests, laughing at things that were genuinely funny, declining to laugh at things that were not, thanking his relatives with the specific warmth of someone who was grateful without being performative about it, and he felt the thing he had been feeling since the restaurant 4 months after the dinner where they had talked for 4 hours while the table moved around them. The certainty. Solid and quiet and not available for revision. His mother watched Amora from across the reception with an expression that was doing several things at once and which Emeka could not fully read. His Aunt Ngozi appeared at his elbow. "Your mother is watching your wife," she said. "I see her," Emeka said. "What do you think she is thinking?" "I think," Emeka said, "she is revising something." The hotel suite was the kind of suite that had been arranged by someone with access to Emeka's credit card and opinions about romance, candles, rose petals, champagne in a bucket, the full arsenal of occasion marking. Amora had looked at it when they arrived and said, "Someone spent your money very seriously." "My assistant," he said. "Your assistant has ambitions," she said. They had been in the suite for 40 minutes, navigating the end of a very long day, when the lights went out. Nipa delivered their wedding gift. And Amora laughed. And Emeka sat on the bed beside her in the flashlight of his phone and asked if she was happy and she said yes and he believed her completely because Amora did not say things she did not mean. He had understood this from the second week of knowing her and it remained one of the most restful things about her. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I am thinking about your mother," he said. She looked at him. "On our wedding night you are thinking about my mother." "I am thinking about what she said to my mother at the planning meeting. About you being better than what I imagined." "She told you about that?" "My aunt told me. My aunt tells me everything." Amora was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My mother is not wrong. But she is also not objective." "She is right," Emeka said. Amora looked at him. "You are better than what I imagined," he said. "I had a vague idea. Something reasonable. Compatible. Good. And then I met you and the vague idea became irrelevant because you are specific. You are the most specific person I have ever met." She looked at him for a moment. "That is the strangest compliment I have received today," she said. "And I received a lot of compliments today." "It is the truest one," he said. She looked at him. Then she said, "Your mother was watching me at the reception." "I know. For a long time. I know." "What was she thinking?" "I told my aunt she was revising something." Amora was quiet. "She worked hard for that wedding," she said. "Whatever she thinks of me. She worked very hard." "She did. I want to tell her thank you. Not for the wedding. For the work. For doing it even when she did not want to." Emeka looked at his wife. "Tomorrow," he said. "Tomorrow," she agreed. The generator came on. The lights returned. The candles were still lit from before and the champagne was still in the bucket and the rose petals were still on every available surface and the room was exactly as it had been arranged by the assistant with ambitions. Amora looked at it all in the restored light. "It is very much," she said. "It is," he agreed. "The candles are nice though." "They are." She reached over and took his hand. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For the 4 hours at dinner. For calling the next day. For saying you needed to think first." She paused. "For not listening to the things that were said." "What things?" She gave him a look. "There were things said," she said. "I heard some of them. I chose not to hear others. But they were said." He looked at her. "Those things," he said, "were said by people who did not know what they were looking at. And you did." "From the dinner," he said. "From the first 4 hours." She looked at him for a moment. Then she leaned her head on his shoulder. They sat on the edge of the enormous bed in the candlelit suite with the champagne going warm in the bucket and the rose petals on every surface and outside the window the Lagos night doing what the Lagos night does, continuously, loudly, without concern for the occasions happening inside its buildings. The morning after the wedding, before the brunch with the families that had been scheduled for 11, Amora knocked on the door of Mrs. Obi's hotel room. Mrs. Obi opened it in her morning wrapper, her hair not yet done, the unguarded face of someone who has not prepared for visitors. She looked at her daughter-in-law. "Amora," she said. "Good morning, Mama," Amora said. A pause. "Come in," Mrs. Obi said. They sat in the smaller hotel room, Mrs. Obi's room, not the suite, and Amora did not produce a speech. She said what she had come to say. "I know I am not what you planned," she said. "I know this has been difficult. I know you did the wedding anyway and it was beautiful and it cost you something beyond money." She paused. "I want you to know that I see that. And I want you to know that I am going to spend the rest of my life making it so that what it cost you was worth it." Mrs. Obi looked at her. "Not for you," Amora said. "For Emeka. Because he deserves someone who makes things worth it." She paused. "But also for you. Because you are his mother and that means something." Mrs. Obi was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "He was right about you." Amora said nothing. "He told me you were the most direct person he had ever met," Mrs. Obi said. "I thought he was speaking like a man in love, which is to say I thought he was not speaking accurately." She paused. "He was speaking accurately." "He usually is," Amora said. Something moved in Mrs. Obi's expression. "My mother sold fried fish at the market," she said. "In Onitsha. I have not told many people this. I tell people my father was a carpenter because carpenter sounds like a trade and fried fish sounds like. She stopped. She stood at that market for 30 years. She paid my school fees from that market. She should not sound like anything less than what she was, Amora said. Mrs. Obi looked at her. No, she said. She should not. A silence. My mother's of Aku, Amora said. She is making it for the family gathering in January. When we come to Ik. She paused. You should come. Mrs. Obi looked at her. To Ik, she said. To Ik, Amara confirmed. You said the Utozi people are wrong. My mother will want to know she has an ally. Mrs. Obi was quiet for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. It was the first time Amara had heard her laugh, genuinely laugh, not the social performance of amusement but actual laughter, and it was, Amara noted, a good laugh. Full. Unself-conscious. She understood immediately where Emeka's is came from. I will come to Ik, Mrs. Obi said. Good, Amara said. She stood. The brunch is at 11. I will see you there. She went to the door. Amora, Mrs. Obi said. She turned. Mrs. Obi looked at her with an expression that had traveled some distance to arrive where it was now. Welcome, she said. To the family. Amora looked at her. Thank you, Mama, she said. She meant it. Mrs. Obi, watching her daughter-in-law leave, thought about a woman who sold fried fish at the Onitsha market for 30 years and who had raised someone who was standing in a hotel room in Lagos saying that woman should not sound like anything less than what she was. She thought about her son's face at the wedding. She thought about the certainty in it, which she recognized. She revised the thing she had been revising since the reception. She finished revising it. They went to Ik in January. All of them, Emeka and Amora, and Mrs. Adiz Obi in the back seat of the car, who had been to Ik in her mind and was now going in person and who had brought, without being asked, a large bag of provisions from Lagos because you do not go to someone's village home empty-handed, which Amora's mother noted and appreciated without making a ceremony of appreciating. The compound in Ik was small and the evening was warm and Mrs. Ejak made off Aku with Uziza and Mrs. Obi 2 servings and said nothing about the second serving, which was its own statement. Amora sat in the compound in the evening and looked at the sky the way she had said she wanted to, without feeling like someone who had forgotten where they came from. Emeka sat beside her. His mother sat across the compound talking to Amora's mother about something that had started as a recipe conversation and had become something else, something that had the quality of two women discovering they have more in common than the very different surfaces of their lives suggested. What are you thinking? Emeka asked. That I was right, Amora said. About what? About this. She gestured at the compound, the evening, the mothers across from them. About all of it being possible. You were not sure. I was sure, she said. I just could not see the shape of it yet. Now I can see the shape. He looked at her. Is the shape good? He asked. She looked at the sky. It is exactly right, she said. Some people look at where someone comes from and see limitation. Others look at the same place and see the thing that produced the person standing in front of them. Emeka looked at Ik and saw the place that had made Amora, the compound and the market and the scholarship and the first class and the directness and the laugh that filled a dark hotel room on a wedding night when a city's electricity failed. He saw the whole of her. From the beginning. That is the whole story. That is the only story that matters. If this story reached a part of you that has been loved by someone who saw you completely, share it right now. Drop a comment and tell us about the person who saw the whole of you. Like this video so more people can find this story. And if you are not yet subscribed, do it now, because every week we bring you a story about love that sees clearly and chooses anyway. The next story is already waiting. Do not miss it.